This is the mosque, if you guys were wondering where the mosque is in Dongjumen. It's this right here. I've been going to this mosque in for a good 6 months now. I kind of go off and on between this one and Chonghomen. It depends kind of where I am on a Friday morning. I usually go to one or the other. But yeah, there are quite a few actually in Beijing. I've only been to two, and because it's Ramadan, actually there's one in. I just heard recently. Look at this guy on a Segway. يلي بتشرق فيك اليوم عالصبحية تنورنا لما بنفيق من النوم نلقى نورا زايرنا يلي بتشرق فيك اليوم عالصبحية تنورنا لما بنفيق من النوم نلقى نورا زايرنا. So, I guess I continue the topic of what I was talking about earlier. And that's really the main reason why I came to Beijing was trying to, kick off my career in the right direction. So I came to Beijing because I want to teach English as a foreign language. I just think as my who I am as a person and my personality plays, I fit in naturally in that role as a mentor and as a teacher and as a lecturer, if you want to call it. I'm really articulate. I feel like I'm really articulate and confident enough to speak in front of the classroom. It's kind of one of those things where you kind of know that it's been part of you for a really long time. You just need the right platform to show it off. And Beijing has given me that platform. China in general, there's a huge market here for teaching English. They're starving. I mean, it's safe to say that they're starving for teachers here, especially for teachers who have American accents. The trend that I've noticed, especially at where I teach, at my job, and kind of like the whole business of it all, is a lot of foreign teachers come, but then they end up quitting after 1 or 2 months. And a lot of the students complain to me about, oh, why are there so many teachers that come and go? You're the only one that stayed for a really long time. Well, it's difficult, guys. I mean, it's not easy to come to a foreign country, especially a country like China, and live here for a year and teach. It's not easy. I was definitely going to say, like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. It is not easy. You really have to be mentally strong, and you got to be accepting, and you gotta let things go and not dwell too much on the past, and you really have to keep your head down and just charge through. And you can't really take too many things personal. It changes you, and when you go back, and I'm going to go back to my hometown in 2 weeks time, I don't know how I'm going to adjust back to Delaware. I really don't. I know that I've changed. I'm really eager to get back. I just hope that I'm still the same person, and I never thought in a million years I would say something like that. I hope that I'm still. It's such a weird thing to say, but the truth is that you change. You do not stay the same. Your thought process, how you approach certain situations, your patience, everything changes. Everything. Your view of the world, your opinions on certain things where you thought you knew where your position was on it, and then all of a sudden it changes, and you're just like, well, wait a minute, I thought this was amazing, I thought this was the right way, and come to think about it, you've been doing something, the wrong way, or there's a more efficient way to do something, or you know what I mean. So it's kind of an awakening, sort of, and it's really, really fascinating to have this opportunity. How many people can say I went to a foreign country and lived there for 1 year? I will say that if you do get this opportunity, take it. And I'm not saying just for China, but any country. there's all these famous cliche or really famous quotes about, you know, exiting your comfort zone, but it's true. It's true. You really got to exit your comfort zone, you know. And the beginning for me was traveling to Yemen back and forth throughout my life. And Yemen was always a place where I had to exit my comfort zone and really dig deep into who I was and just say, listen, you know, you're not going to have fast internet or electricity or AC or hot water for 2 months. Deal with it. And I know that's such a minor example, but you might be thinking to yourself, oh, that's no big deal. But it really does. I mean, all the luxuries and all the luxuries that you've had in your life all of a sudden are taken away, and then you're like, okay, what do you do now? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not saying the internet, I'm not saying all of these things I don't have in China. I'm just saying that especially for third world countries like or you know, exiting your comfort zone for that matter, you know, you're gonna run into situations where you're like, I'm used to having this my whole life and I've been living so comfortably, but now I can't have that thing anymore. And it's like, what do? Do you flip out and go mentally insane and take it out on people and always be, you know, or you accept it and then you just move on and you just try to live life a different way. It's really such a fascinating dilemma to deal with. And now that I'm so used to it, it's kind of like, okay. And with that, it changes you. You slowly realize that you don't need a lot to live. You really don't need that much to live. You really don't. I mean, I'm talking about from every aspect of life. I'm gonna go and sit here in traffic. Especially with just one aspect is food. Man, in America, I would indulge myself in food. I would go crazy, you know, like I would, you know, eat out at restaurants and eat this ice cream and go try this restaurant that just opened, and you're just like full all the time. And it's like why? You don't, and you're spending so much money on unnecessary items, and you're just like, it's such a lavish, extravagant lifestyle, and you look back and you're like, how? Why did I do that? That was stupid. Because here, when you're on your own in a concrete jungle like this, you don't have the chance or opportunity to explore those aspects of life, and you come to realize very quickly that you don't need that much to live. You really don't. I mean, and it builds your content. I don't know if contentness is a word, but it makes you more content with what you have, and it makes you realize that, like, I don't need this much. I don't need this many hours of sleep. I don't need this many clothes. I don't need this much food. I'm okay. I'll live. I'll deal with it. It's not that big of a deal, and it makes you really. It really toughens you up. You know, it toughens you up. So with that being said, I have not turned on my water heater in my apartment for the past maybe 3 or 4 months. I've just been taking cold showers every single day, and I've always been a hot shower person, you know, but now I just really buckled down and threw myself into the cold shower and just really tried to just deal with it, you know. And another thing for that matter is like AC. Like, I haven't turned on my AC at all during the summer, not even once. Like, it's not even plugged in. The main reason for that is I'm on the first floor and I don't get any sun. So, like, it's not super cold and it's not super hot, but I will say that it is uncomfortable to a certain extent, you know, in terms of the temperature. But I just deal with it. I'm like, no, Dave, you're not going to turn on the AC. Like, you're not going to, Dave, or whatever you want to call me. You're not going to turn on the AC. You're not going to please those inner, like, comfort sensors in your body. I need AC now. No, you're not going to do it. Deal with it. And I just deal with it, and it's really not that big of a deal. You're not gonna die. It's such a strange, it's such a weird thing to talk about. Actually, I never thought I'd be talking about this, but I'm just trying to give you guys a perspective on on a foreigner, if you're a foreigner and you're living in a different country, there's things that you're going to have to find out a way to deal with not having. And I think that's what the reason, probably the main reason why many people end up coming to China and leaving after 2 or 3 months and quitting. It's because they can't handle that. They ain't about that life. They ain't about that life. And I think for me, I'm not going to sit here and brag and say I'm the toughest person, but I'll be honest, like I was struggling. I couldn't do it. But like I said earlier, with Yemen, and that taught me how to, it kind of like prepared me, and it taught me to have no expectations. And I think that's what's the most important thing. And it's just like, not panicking is also a huge part of it all. And you might be saying, well, there's a different type of panic. There's like a long-term panic, and then there's like a short-term panic. I'm talking about the long-term panic. And you really kind of have to keep a cool head. It's kind of one of those situations it's difficult to put into words because there's so many things going on in your mind. You kind of have mixed emotions, and you're always torn between your home country and then the people here, and then you get angry at your people over there, and you get angry at people over here. There's a lot of culture shock symptoms that one goes through, and you gotta be, the most key important thing is you gotta build awareness. Oh, this is a heavy bump. You gotta build awareness. You gotta know exactly where you are in the stage. You got to know, why am I feeling this way? And you got to be really, really super rational. And a lot of people are sensitive, you know. Some people have really sensitive personalities, and they're really emotional about certain things, and they can't get over certain things. And you really got to have, if I could use this analogy, an iron heart. And I don't mean like you got to be cruel to people. I'm just mean like when you run in certain situations that make you feel uncomfortable and you're upset, it's too bad. Who cares? Move on. So what? And you just got to keep going forward. If you always dwell on the past or what happened yesterday, or someone said to you the other night, it's gonna tear you apart. It's gonna take a mental toll on you and not allow you to live life in a really efficient manner, or it's not gonna allow you to be the best person you can be. So that's what I try to like nail down to my students, you know. I try to give them a different perspective. Another thing about being a teacher is like you can't push your opinions down people's throats. Like, sure, I have my own beliefs, everyone does, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So with that being said, when I'm in the classroom, I never push like religion, I never push politics, I never push the fact that America is better than China, you know. I'm not saying that I do believe that. I'm just saying I don't really push that type of vibe towards them. And I think that's why they adore me and they love me so much, is because you got to really have, like, you know, a certain level of emotional intelligence when dealing with different age ranges. That's what I want to say. That's really, really important. So obviously teaching a younger crowd, you got to have a certain you got to deal with them in a certain way. But when you're dealing with mature adults who might be nationalistic, you don't know how these people are. You know what I mean? These people are going through their own personal tough battles, living in China and trying to break out of, you know. And some of them may be happy with the system, some of them may not be happy with the system. So you got to be really, really careful of what you say. So, you know, a lot of you might be thinking, wow, Dave, it's amazing that you're in Beijing and you're living the life. Not necessarily. I work 6 days a week, and literally like the whole month of May, I worked 7 days a week. For the whole month of May, I've worked 7 days a week. And you might be saying, Dave, why do you put yourself through that? Well, the reason why I do that is partially to escape the pain. Really, I feel like the more I know it's bad. I know you shouldn't do that. It's wrong. But I feel like the more I escape in my job, the better I feel, and the less I think about my own hometown and my situation. So that's partially another reason why. But another reason why is I'm trying to stay focused and focus on why I actually came to Beijing, and that's, you know, perfecting my craft as being a good teacher. So yeah. Really, really cool, you know. Look at this building. This building is fascinating. Look at that. It's like a big oval, but like both ends of the oval are like tilted up a little bit, so it's like twisted. It's like a twisted circle. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of landmarks here in Beijing that I've seen in the commercials, I've seen in movies throughout my lifetime, but I never like knew what they are called, and I don't know what they are. To this day I don't know, but I do see them oftentimes while driving around in Beijing. It's really cool. And back to what I was saying, a lot of you might be thinking, wow, Dave, you're living the life. It's really cool that you can do that, but to be frank, I'm not partying every night. I literally work. I work so much. Like I'm not even into that whole Sunlitun feel, go out to clubs. And a lot of people say, Dave, let's go to Sunlitun and meet foreigners and mingle with them and go there, and there's foreigners there, you'll feel better. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I didn't come to China. I didn't come to China to, let me come over here. I didn't come to China to talk and meet with foreigners or whatever it is. I didn't come to do that. You know, I came to China to be with Chinese people. That's the reason why. I came to China to indulge myself into this culture. I didn't come to China to go to Sunlitun and go out to a bar every night and drink and be with foreigners all day. Like, I could stay in America and do that. You know what I mean? I don't need to come to China to meet foreigners. So I think a lot of people, I think that's another reason why, you know, the center and the students love me so much as well, is because I devote all of my time to my students. I literally have the only personal time I have is when I come home and I just relax and I edit a motovlog or I upload it. That's the house kind of close there, buddy. That's the only time I have like time to myself. But when in actuality, I just spend so much time with my students. I really, really try to leave a lasting impression on them. And with that being said, one thing I do want to say is you really got to be careful with that. And what I mean is, I'll try to be as general and broad as possible. You really got to be careful with whose life you enter and whose life you exit. You know, you really got to be careful, because you're dealing with a whole nother beast in terms of entering someone's life and getting close to them, you know. And I think that's there are some, I think that's kind of like, it's like a bittersweet moment for me, because I know I'm leaving pretty soon. So I just kind of feel happy and sad at the same time. I don't know how well I'm gonna bear that detachment, you know, because 1 year is no joke. I mean, 1 year and 1 month is no joke. When you know someone for 1 year and then all of a sudden you leave them, that hurts, man. It stings bad. It stings really, really bad. It stings. Because you're not just friends with these people. You are their teacher, and you are their mentor. You are influence them and impact them in such a positive way, and they rely on you and they ask you questions and you're there for them all the time. So leaving that, it gives you like gives you like a guilty feeling, you know what I mean? Like for me at least, I feel guilty leaving in a sense, you know, because there's so many people that I've come close to. And that's another thing I want to tell you guys. Be careful. If you go to travel to another country, pick your spots. Pick the people you decide to come close to. You really got to trust your judgment. You really got to trust your instincts. You really got to rely on your heart and what your heart tells you. You really got to be careful, because when you're in your hometown, there's really no repercussions, you know, there's no consequences, because you live there. You're going to be there forever. But when you're here, you got to keep in mind that one day you are going to leave. So you either keep your distance or go all in. And with that being said, there's a fine line between that. There's a fine line between going all in and getting close to a lot of people, or actually, you know, keeping your distance totally and not doing that. You know what I mean? Because it's a sticky situation, and it's difficult, because you want to be the best person you want to be and be a good teacher and all that jazz, but at the same time you got to find the right balance. Whereas you uphold yourself to a professional standard, and people respect you as a good teacher and passionate, but you don't want to be you don't want to keep your distance too much where people are gonna think you're lazy and you're not a good teacher. So it's tough, man. It's a tough situation to be in. All right, guys, I have arrived. I'm in Jintailu. This is my home. This is my neighborhood. I'm heading home pretty soon. Thanks for all of you who stuck around. I always say that, but look for more moto vlogs from Beijing, guys. Yeah, I really look forward to having this bad boy for the next so-and-so days. Yeah, I've had a good life here. I've had a good year in Beijing. I've had a really good year. I'm not gonna lie. It's been amazing. What a ride. I'll never forget this year ever in my entire life. For those of you who haven't traveled, get a passport, pick a spot, and just go. You gotta take risks. You gotta take risks. And I took a huge risk by coming here, but it's paid off. And let's be honest. Let's be real. There are some risks that you take that aren't always gonna work out. You just gotta go back to the drawing boards and try something else new, and you just gotta keep going. But you can't quit, you know what I mean? You can't give up. So, with that being said, peace. Thank you. See ya. Wouldn't wanna be ya.
حبها في القلب دايب وانا غايب عنها، امي يا اغلى القرايب والحبايب دونها. حبها في القلب دايب وانا غايب عنها، امي يا اغلى القرايب والحبايب دونها. صابرة في كل حالي ما تبالي بحزنها، ساهرة طول الليالي بطيب فالي ظنها.